Hey, welcome back to the channel. So obviously we're at the new place and there's a lot happening here. We've got the fence up, we've got a gate up, we've got office staff here, and we've hired some new people. We've done a lot of improvements here at the yard. We're almost out of the old warehouse so we can stop paying all that rent.
It's just a lot.
And while all that's been going on, there have been some serious things we've had to deal with.
There are things even more unpleasant.
And this bucket represents my life. And this water kind of represents all the excitement and all the good things that I've got going on in my life. But there comes a point when you can have too much.
That is so true.
When I first came down to Florida, my bucket was probably right about here. Like, I had a lot going on, but there was still room for more. And then we did something really silly. And we thought, you know what? We don't have enough going on. And surely I'm gonna get bored. So we'll start another fence company. We'll just add a little more water to this bucket. Oh, that's perfect right there. Whew, still doing good. But then we decided to do some other things. I decided to start another company that has to do with selling no-dig posts. We were gonna set ourselves apart in Florida by offering a no-dig system. It's not that nobody was doing it, but what we decided to do was take it mainstream to differentiate ourselves from everybody else around us. I've gotta say, it's worked really well because there's an entire movement now in the industry about doing no-dig fence. And we have a unique product that allows us to do no-dig fence. I think that when I did that, maybe now this is where my bucket is. Because it takes a lot to get a company off the ground and do it, and do everything right, and make people happy. And so this is kind of my bucket.
Too much.
And then we decided to build a pool.
Too much.
And that goes very terribly. And then to move into the new place, because we don't have any shop space, we have to pour concrete. And that goes in my bucket.
It's too much.
And then we need electricity.
Do we though?
And that goes in the bucket too. I know we had the company in Wyoming this whole time, but it's not like that goes perfectly. And in fact, we bought some equipment 3 years ago, and that was supposed to be here and ended up in a lawsuit, and that goes in my bucket. I still don't have the $250,000 worth of equipment, but I'm out a whole bunch of money while I wait for it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh yeah, and that pool, yeah, that's basically dead, and we went to mediation today on the pool, so there's that. That goes in my bucket.
I don't want to talk about it right now.
And oh yeah, we want to grow, and so to grow, we need to add more vehicles and more people. That goes in the bucket too. And I guess what I'm saying is that if you want to start a company, it's good, but sometimes you bite off more than you can chew, and I feel like right now, that's where I'm at.
It's way too much.
It's just too much.
And all this stuff spills out. The people around you will suffer. That takes a toll on our family. When I get home and I'm not in the best mood, that affects my family life. And when I get home and I'm thinking about all this stuff, and so I don't sleep, and I get about 3.5 hours of sleep every night, that's where the water spills out. And then I don't make the best decisions because eventually all this starts affecting us mentally. And that's really where I'm at. This has not been a walk in the park.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I like to keep these videos a lot more upbeat. This last 6 months is probably about as stressful as the first 6 months of doing this business, but for completely different reasons. That was because I didn't have the talent that we needed and we were trying to get things up and running. This is more because I've just taken on too much and I have no more bandwidth. I've basically reached as far as I can go, and now something has to give, and my bucket is clearly spilling over. That is affecting relationships, it's affecting my mental health, it's affecting my physical health. It's not making me any skinnier. It's not making my blood pressure any lower. And this is the point when I have to kind of decide what I'm going to do to resolve the water that keeps dumping into my bucket. You're probably saying, hey, well, lay it on us. What are you gonna do? I don't know. The name of the channel is Successful Contractor. I'm still struggling, just like the rest of you. That's really today's story, is that it's okay to not be okay. And right now, I'm not like super okay. This kind of sucks, honestly.
It's not fun.
So I look back at all the different startups I've done. This has been a lot more challenging than I think I ever could have imagined. Hey, yeah, are you admiring our new sign? So just like this sign we needed to let people know where we were. And believe it or not, the sign was out there by the road and it lasted for like 8 hours before the county came by and said,
You can't do that.
so there's some more water in my bucket. So we stuck it right up here waiting for them to come and yell at us. Luckily, it's been fine up here. We don't have any problems up here. But the other way we combated the no sign issue is we did this great big huge billboard, and it's been up for several weeks, and that is good with the county because guess what? They do this on construction sites all day long, so how are they gonna yell at me?
There's nothing you can say.
And we also had to build all this fence. This fence wasn't here. We had to hurry up and build that and then still try and make some money in the meantime or generate cash flow, and that's not easy. And we did finally put the gate up. So initially we used temporary fence panels as our gate, and now we have this fine gate. I haven't even seen how this thing closed yet. Wow, that actually works pretty good. We have latches for this, but we haven't had time to put the latches on, and we'll do that later, or we'll just keep chaining it. It's all good. Eventually I want to put an operator on this, but that's a project for another day because that's more water in my bucket that I can't handle right now. And oh yeah, gate operators, those are all me. I have to do all those.
I'm the only one.
Hey, fun fact though. Fun fact for all of you haters that do happen to follow all the other things we do here on SWI. This post and this post right here, they're driven. There's not a drop of concrete. I know. This will never work and it won't last. You can see all that weight pivoting down there, and this thing's just operates so smooth. Look at that. I didn't even see these posts moving. Did you see those posts moving? No. Wow, that is butter. But I'm sure we'll be ripping all this stuff out in like a week because it won't work because there's no concrete. It's just some of the things we do. And we had to build this gate, and guess what? More water in my bucket, because you know how many people here know how to build a cantilever gate when we did this gate? 0. But now I've got a guy that knows how to build a cantilever gate. So that's a little bit of water out of my bucket the next time. And you're probably looking right next to me and you're probably saying, hey, that's a really odd spot. Why would you stack your material like that? Well, it's because we've had, I don't know, 10 semis stuck here because they come in here and they turn this corner and try and go that way. And then this is an old place where they ripped out an old house. So it's like bottomless sand, and then and then we have to pull them out. And after about the 10th time, we're like, we've got to stop them from doing that. And so there you go. That's why that's there. Trucks that get stuck in your dirt. One of the other fun things I get to deal with is the fact that this is 3 separate lots. This lot is zoned CI, which is commercial intensive. Those are zoned open rural. Technically, we're not supposed to be here, and so we have to get rezoned. Now you're probably thinking, ooh, that doesn't sound like fun, and it's not. Rezoning a property. And if you'll notice this right here, right behind me, that would be called a specimen tree. This is such a beautiful, huge oak tree that they had to come out and measure it and see whether or not it belongs on the Florida registry for oak trees or some...
Perfect. I hate registry.
I don't know. She was here yesterday. This one and that one in the far back here, those are both specimen trees. So those have to stay here forever.
Yours to keep forever.
And that's just one of many people we have to deal with in the rezoning. And that's just more water in my bucket. Specimen trees on your property. Just trying to get all that taken care of so that I can operate legally. And this is something I'm not used to because in Wyoming, we basically just did stuff and then asked for permission later, especially in the county. Sometimes we didn't even ask for permission, we just did it. A lot of that goes on in Wyoming. St. Augustine and St. Johns County, not at all like that, believe it or not. There's a couple more regulations here.
Regulations, directives, orders.
So that's another thing. That's another thing that goes in my bucket is the fact that every time I have freight that goes out to our customers, because we're shipping these I-posts out all over the place, I get to fight the freight companies because they want to consider this a residential property. We're definitely not residential. That might have at one point in time been a house, but it's no longer a house. But every time I try and ship something out, they try and hit me with additional charges for this being a residential pickup. We have skid steers running around ready to load them. We have a major thoroughfare. We're amongst other businesses, but they still try and consider this a house. Boy, does that just grate at me. Every time I get those up charges and I have to call in and say, no, we're a commercial property, stop doing this, this is ridiculous. So that's just more stuff. It's just more stuff in my bucket. That bucket is something else. I'll tell you what, it's a lot. There's a lot in the bucket. Trucking companies that think this is a residential address and try and bill me more. So this didn't used to be here. This piece of concrete, we had to pour this. This was necessary because we need a flat place to weld all of our gates, so that is what this will serve. And then these 2 containers, they were moved in because we didn't have enough place to store stuff. So this one has some special hidden features. We put our vinyl router in there. So we've got our vinyl router all set up, ready to route stuff. Is this perfect and ideal? No. Are we making do with what we've got? Absolutely. The other container over here is for all our tools, and that's where we'll put our welder at night when we want to lock up our welder. Another fun fact, I really want to do a really big tarp building over here, but until I get this rezoned and get it permitted, I can't do that. But we can cobble some stuff together and kind of make it work until then. And so that's what we're going to do. So we had power put in here. We trenched all the power, which is just another thing that we had to do. And I had to teach people how to run conduit and how to put the conduit in the right places. And then we had to get the electrician to come over here and do this. So we've got welder outlets, we've got 110 outlets, we've got power in both these containers so we can have lights in here. And that's just more work. Now, let's talk about this pad because there's an interesting story about this pad. This pad turned out about 1,000 times better than I thought it was going to. I probably screwed up and got a guy that maybe not, he was different. We'll just go with he was different. And so he showed up the day to pour this stuff and it was just him. And I'm like, okay, this isn't that big a deal and we need to do some grading and stuff. And it was just him. The truck showed up and the truck's waiting here and it's still just him and he didn't even have the forms done yet. Showed up at like 10:30, they were supposed to pour at 1, but he spent all that time just grading this out. And I'm like, we kind of pushed it. So at the end of the day, he left the concrete and it looked terrible. I was like, oh, this is not gonna be good. Like,
I've got a bad feeling about this.
I just spent probably $3,200 on actual concrete and now this guy's gonna want paid for this terrible work. I was like, it looks pretty rough, man. I'm a little worried. And he's like, no, we'll be back in the morning. We're gonna wake it up.
That's not a thing.
I don't know a whole lot about concrete, but one of the things I do know about concrete from being in Wyoming is that once it's been placed for, 12 hours, 15 hours, there's no waking it up. It's freaking hard as a rock. And so I'm like, I'm gonna have to see this. This is some voodoo magic. And that was just a little bit more water in my already full bucket. So it stressed me out just a little bit. I wasn't actually there. I was out of town when this happened. So I legitimately told Kate, I said, okay, when he wants to wake this concrete up with his power trowel, I said, go out there and I want to see the video of this thing shooting sparks like everywhere because this is going to be hilarious. At least in all the stress, I can get a good TikTok or two out of this. And believe it or not, I don't know what he did. I wasn't here. I didn't see it. He woke this stuff up, power troweled it, and it turned out pretty decent. I've never heard, if you've heard of waking concrete up like 12 hours later, let me know because this is new on me. Concrete contractors that want to wake concrete up. Is this the best concrete in the world? Probably not. Is it gonna be flat enough and good enough for us to actually weld our gates and have a nice flat place to work? Yeah, it's just a lot. This does not mean I don't have great people, and it doesn't mean that there hasn't been some good things. Yesterday was the first day in a long time that I remember sending 2 crews out, and both crews finished their job in 1 day. 1 day. Yes. So many of our jobs are done in 2 days, even if they should be a 1-day job. So that was a huge milestone. Today, already, one of my crews went out and installed an aluminum fence. It was supposed to be a like 20-hour job, and I think they got it done in, well, I don't know, 12. Yes. Freaking crushed it. And the other crew, I think, is gonna finish their jobs. Yes. Fingers crossed, we're turning a corner because I need to see some serious progress and see some things coming off my plate so that I can reach the equilibrium. We're gonna say homeostasis. Yeah, we're definitely not in homeostasis.
Homeostasis is 1% of normal.
My biodome is messed up. We are not at equilibrium.
Come on, guys. We gotta save the biodome.
So I'm hoping that if we can get some wins like that, that'll start taking some weight off my shoulders and I'll feel like we're achieving some of the goals we set out to do, because the reality is I think we're on target to even hit the numbers that we want to hit this year. We've got some really good stuff coming up, but we just got to get some of this stuff off my plate and things have to start going better than they've been going. Part of that is going to be me relying on my team. Sometimes I just need to take some of that stuff out of my bucket and it needs to go into a bucket, a side bucket over here. And that side bucket is your people. Got to get those people. But when you're new, that's really tough because nobody knows what needs to be done. People don't know how to weld cantilever gates. They don't know how to order the material. They don't know how to pull material and stage it correctly. And so that is where I have to come in and train. And these are just all the things that overflow a young entrepreneur's bucket. And I'm not even a young entrepreneur. I'm not even new at this. I'll be okay. I promise, I'll be okay. But it's been rough. It's not been great. It's been very rough. My wife is definitely at her breaking point as well. She had a mental breakdown today and that goes in my bucket. A wife that does not like her job at the moment, where she was just like, I hate this job, I don't want this job, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom, and you elected to have me do all this stuff because you needed to dump some water out of your bucket into my bucket, and now her bucket's overflowing. And Amber probably feels a little bit like that in the front too. It's hard on everybody, especially when the person at the top is struggling because I can't be the happy-go-lucky leader that I want to be, and I got to get there. I like to be happy, I like to joke, but some of this stuff needs to go away. And sometimes we don't exactly have the timeline we want to be able to make that happen. I can't make a lawsuit resolve itself overnight. Be ready for this if you're a struggling entrepreneur, but if you're struggling like me, know that we're there with you. I feel your pain. Like, I am in the trenches every single day, and I get it. I get it. because I've done this before and it doesn't make it any easier. Like I said in the beginning, doing all this here in Florida, 2,000 miles away from everything I'm comfortable with and I know has been the most challenging thing that I've ever done in my entire life. Most challenging by far. I think the customers down here are different. They're much more demanding than the customers that we have in Wyoming. There's a lot more entitlement, I think. We have one negative review on our business, and you know what that negative review is from? It's from somebody that never called our company, never talked to anybody, or never even tried to get any help. They went to our online estimate tool, didn't like the price that it spit out for a budget, and then went immediately to Google at 12 o'clock at night and left a bad review.
Don't you people have anything better to do?
And that's the kind of thing we deal with. We deal with the people that don't like the fact that you have to have a 1-inch gap between your hinge and your gate frame so that it can swing properly. And they're like, I want total privacy. I don't know how to respond to those people because I like to try and help you out, but I also like things that work.
I don't know what to tell you.
It's the customer that nitpicks everything all the way down to the end, and you want to take care of them and you're trying to take care of them, but they're a customer that maybe will never be happy. They exist. Those are just some more of the things. We had a job from hell that blue tape on everything. A vinyl job. She went out every night after we got done and blue taped everything. So it was just like the perpetual motion machine. We just every day we're gonna go back out to that job and redo a whole bunch of stuff. And I think I hate to even bring this up, but fingers crossed. Maybe we're done there. Maybe upset customers. That's all of it. Sorry, I vomited just a little bit, but my bucket's full. If I've been grumpy, if I'm short, that's why. If you're a person in my life that I care about, just bear with me, I'll be better. We'll get there. Tanya will be happy, I'll be happy. These are trying times. Hey, you know what? Tomorrow's a new day. I've got a good attitude, we're on the right track, we'll get there. I will be a successful contractor again. And I hope you're doing a lot better than I am. I'll be okay. Hopefully you've gotten something out of this because it was very therapeutic talking to you about all of it.
You know, I actually feel better.
And at the end of the day, guess what? I'm ready to retire. I want my bucket to be this full. All right, I lied. I probably wouldn't be living a very fulfilled life if I had no water in my bucket. I'd like to get down to about here. And until next time, I'm Mark with Successful Contractor, and I hope you have a good dang day. Project I can't tell you about. Other project I can't tell you about.